I guess we're live.
Almost. Yep.
All right, thank you. Let's call.
I guess we're live.
Almost. Yep.
All right, thank you. Let's call.
I guess we're live.
Oh no.
Almost. Yep.
All right, thank you. Let's call.
I guess we're live.
What is going on?
Sounds like it's looping. And it's, the feedback is coming because you have both systems on.
What is going on?
Sounds like it's looping. So, Bobby, whenever you're ready, if you mute the YouTube one, and then Carrie can go ahead, we can start the pledge and get going.
What is going on?
Sounds like it's looping. So, Bobby, whenever you're ready, if you mute the YouTube one, and then Carrie can go ahead, we can start the pledge and get going.
Okay, what I muted at though?
Sounds like it's looping.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you. All right, well, let's call our meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Commissioners of Poolesville. It's April 19th, 2021, and all of the commissioners are here. We're still waiting on Mr. Brown and our acting town manager, Bobby Evans, is here. Our town attorney, Jay Gullo, is here, and our consultant, Wade Yost, is with us tonight as well. And Ed, would you like to go ahead and lead us in the pledge this evening?
Sure, would love to. Okay. I'll give Jim a minute. He's tuning in now.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Hey,
All
on
right.
board.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and lead off with the pledge. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to
And
the
to the
republic
republic
which
for which
stands
it stands,
one
one
nation
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Great, thank you. So we'll start off tonight with our commissioner committee announcements and reports. And in terms of events, though still our usual spring and summer events committee has yet to organize. I believe there was quite a busy weekend this past weekend in Poolesville. The last in the series of the drive-in movies, which partnered with Bassett's for the last several months, was another success. And the farmers market on the Commons is still growing. And there were several eateries, I understand, both old and new, that had a good weekend. So that was good to hear. I actually attended several meetings this week, and I'll try not to go into too much detail on each of them. So I got on the Canal Towns meeting. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the fact that we are now a partner with Canal Towns. So I met with the Canal Trust Board, as well as representatives from the National Park Service and other partner towns. Poolesville joined as a partner last year, and it's basically the hope is that it would be a good way to foster economic and community relationships with other entities and other partner towns along the C&O Canal. So Abby Ricketts of the C&O Canal Trust asked me to attend, and she also asked if I would consider representing Poolesville at the World Canals Conference, which is coming up this summer. It's held in Hagerstown, so it's not too worldly, but it does seem like a possible good idea for Poolesville to have some representation there. And during the monthly meeting, we discussed the sign and the possible kiosk that will be positioned at Edwards Ferry, giving folks information about Poolesville. It's been on hold a little bit because of the work they've been doing at the bridge there at Edwards Ferry. But that should be coming to fruition soon. So hopefully we'll have a nice sign and kiosk kind of leading people from the canal area up to Poolesville. So thanks to Martin for providing photos on their website for our Poolesville area on the Canal Towns website. And thanks also to Bobby and Kathy, who have been working with Canal Town staff to get together the information for the towpath to town brochures. I'm going to be meeting with some staff on Wednesday to finalize that, and then I'll send that out to everybody for last review. So that should be a nice PR piece for Poolesville. Let's see, I also attended the Up County COVID Task Force. This is a committee that's led by Kathy Matthews of the Up County Regional Center, and it includes various council members, Chamber of Commerce representatives, county folks, even our own Jerry Kay can be seen on that meeting. And the push for a while was getting older adults pre-registered for these vaccinations. But now that we have the momentum going with the mass vax sites, the push now is really more just encouraging everyone to register. Thankfully, we have here in Poolesville, Dr. Dugarella and Dr. Kirksey's office in town is taking patients, which a lot of people have been taking advantage of. So big thanks to them for doing that. And then, of course, the Germantown site is open. And I also understand the Hagerstown site has been quite open to folks in the region. So, you know, of course, the message on these meetings is, you know, even though almost half of Montgomery County population has been vaccinated, you know, the message is still just continuing to be vigilant, wearing masks, washing hands, avoiding large gatherings as much as you can. I also was able to attend the Montgomery County Council presentation to the MML MoCo chapter. So the council came and gave a presentation, and they had taken preset questions, and it was quite informative. They were really generous with their town. I believe everyone except for Nancy Navarro and Evan Glass was there. The rest of the council was in attendance. So it was really nice to have, you know, a somewhat informal chat with them, and it's all recorded, so folks can go back and watch that. I'm sure it's up, it's probably up on the county site. But that was a nice presentation that they did. And the MML chapter wants to try to do more of those, you know, with their availability, of course. I also was able to get on Delegate Hidalgo's bi-weekly meeting about White's Ferry. Jim was also able to attend, and you know, all of the sort of usual players that are now meeting every other week were in attendance. And while the meat of the meeting is pretty confidential, just so as to not potentially hamper any ongoing negotiations, there are two big meetings happening tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, April 20th. The County Council and then the Loudoun County Supervisors is having a closed session. And so this group that has been meeting and led by Delegate Hidalgo will hopefully meet again later this week, and we'll have some more updates coming out of the meetings that are happening tomorrow. And I also met with our Poolesville High School PTA event committee. These are the folks who came and talked to us last business meeting about the non-prom, post-prom event. So I just met with them and talked more about the logistics of their event. And they just wanted to, again, send their thanks to the commission for the donation of funds. Also, thanks to everyone on this board who solicited support for the event, thanks to local business donations. The committee's really, they've gotten a lot of funding for this event. They've almost reached their goal. And again, this is the event that's happening in May. It's in lieu of a prom for the PHS seniors. And let's see, Economic Development Committee met again. We're continuing to have really open conversations, a bit existential in a way, discussing mission and vision and all of the various ideas that comes out of that. And we'll probably continue to do that. It's while we hone in the direction that the committee wants to take. The committee is being really thoughtful about not just doing things just to do them, but really taking the time to discuss what needs to be the direction, what needs to be done. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention that I met with Mayor John Compton of Washington Grove. Washington Grove, their sustainable committee, so their green team and their council are looking at some possibilities for community solar projects in partnership with the planning board, with land that's just actually outside of their jurisdiction. And they're having a lot of talks with county council members like Andrew Friedson. And they're really at the beginning stages, but it's sounding exciting, and it's a model that they're hoping will encourage other small towns to have if they have the ability to consider moving forward with as well with this community solar projects. And I'll send a full report to you, Ed, and to the Sustainable Poolsville Committee on my meeting with him. And I think he would even like to talk with that committee if they would be interested in that. Especially since I know that that committee is looking to integrate a sustainability section into the master plan. So I think that's everything for me. And I'll move over to Martin.
If I could make a quick interruption.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Someone texted me and said they can only see the speaker instead of the gallery view. So maybe, Bobby, you can change it to gallery view, please.
And how do you do that?
Up in the upper right corner,
Yeah.
you should see a little button that says view. And then you can make a choice called gallery.
We good?
Oh, no.
It usually says view, and then it has like 9 little dots
Yeah.
in a square pattern.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't used this thing enough. Whoops.
Wade, you're muted.
I wonder if you could make me a host and I could try to do it.
Yeah. As soon as I get back on here. I don't know what's going on. I lost everybody. Except for Carrie. I lost my more buttons. I lost everything.
Bobby, do you see Carrie's name, or you see anything at the bottom that says?
Yeah, I'm getting ready.
participants?
I'm getting ready to move it to Carrie.
Okay.
Yeah. Make host. There we go.
Well, I have it gallery, so hopefully it's working.
Carrie, it
Go
sounds like
ahead,
you had
Martin.
it sounds like you had a busy 2 weeks, Carrie. Thanks for
I-
going to all those meetings and for all that good information. So my report is the Planning Commission met last week and I almost feel like maybe you guys were there. Oh, wait, you were. So I don't have a whole lot to report that you don't already know, seeing as you, all four of you were in attendance. So I know that we are moving forward with the master plan as quickly as possible at this point, and that's about all there is to say.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Ed,
All right, a couple of things. One, I just checked the YouTube and looked at it. It's working. You have all the boxes. When we're looking at the Sustainable Poolsville report, a couple of things. One, the Capital Area Solar Co-op, that launched April 1st, and a while back we had agreed to be promotional partners. So that's taking place right now. Throughout that time, from now all the way through August 31st, there'll be a lot of different informational webinars. And so Poolsville Green and Poolsville, we're hosting one on April 29th at 7:30, and then another one on May 20th. And the first one, April 29th at 7:30 p.m. The next one is May 20th, May 20th at noon. And all of the commissioners, Bobby, you all received something from Joyce. There should be an email there, and it has the links if we want to have somebody join to the for the solar co-op webinar piece. Then the next thing that's happening, there is the annual, and this is going to be the 8th annual Montgomery County Energy Summit. And so that takes place it's virtual. It's over 3 days. It's May 4th through the 6th. And so the theme for this year is resilience from building to community. And so this is something that you could register for if you're interested in that. And the website to register is mcenergysummit.org. And so once again, that registration is open if you're interested in that. You can, it's a 3-day summit. You don't have to attend all 3 days. You could pick a day that you like to go, or you can go for all 3 days. You could visit mcenergysummit.org, all one word, to learn more about the Energy Summit. And so you'll have some elected officials that will be there as well. And so that's it for me. I'll turn it back over.
great. And Jim.
The Fair Access Committee has not met since the last time we all talked, but what we did do is came up with a muster campaign that has been unleashed to our council members to talk about what we need to have their further approval on beyond the approval for all the budgeted funds for the new Poolsville High School, was to again reiterate the need for essentially rotating the gym to make it a double-sized gym from where our main gym is now, as well as adding on the funds for a wellness center, to build a wellness center. That's been we sound like a broken record, but this is what it's coming down to. The rest of this building, the rest of this plan are borderline spectacular. It's going to be a great high school, but they need to, as we kind of finished, I think Link came up with finish the plan, or we had a bunch of taglines, but basically what it just comes down to is we've got to come up with the additional funds needed to increase the size of that gym and build a wellness center. These are two things that the rest of the county has gotten when high schools have been rebuilt. There's no reason why, not in just in the spirit of fair access, but in the spirit of doing the right thing, that these additional funds get allocated. So we actually have full faith that we're going to be able to work with the county to get these additional funds, but we're going to keep the heat on. Number one is get the main vote done, so we get our high school built, and number two is secure these additional funds. In addition, we've been working with several wellness providers, and there is an opportunity potentially to bring wellness to Poolsville, and even in the event it doesn't work out at the high school, or maybe it sets the stage for what could be done at the high school later on. Can't really get into too many details about it, but it's a really interesting thing that we're working on, and it could answer the call for everything that we've seen and heard about the bad health outcomes for the up county. we potentially are going to be able to remediate that and turn it into a plus for us. So more to come on that as time goes on. But it's kind of exciting process that we're working on. And everybody, Carrie gave a good wrap up on the White's Ferry, and everybody, you can always follow me on my Facebook when I can release the details that are releasable. So that's where we are right now. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Jeff.
Yes, thank you. So we had the meeting on, when do we have the meeting? April the 12th. So it was last week, I guess. Yeah. And we talked about a number of things. So some of them are, probably have heard before. So I may not spend a whole lot of time on it, but the speed humps on Hughes Road. So that's going forward. Also, the intersection of Tom Fox and Hughes Road. So if you're coming down Hughes Road and there's that kind of unusual right-hand turn lane, you can turn right onto Tom Fox, and that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense there. So that the right-hand turn lane is going to be eliminated, and the curb is going to be moved, and also there's going to be quite an improvement to the crosswalk, or actually there isn't any crosswalk there. So there's going to be a crosswalk added there, which I think is important, because when before I had my foot surgery, when I go on walks there, you really had to go kind of a little bit around your elbow to get, safely back onto Tom Fox and then out to Fisher Avenue. So that's underway, waiting for the weather to be a little more stable in terms of warmness. Also, there was a discussion about bike racks. So the Parks Board had talked about bike racks several months ago. And we kind of thought that the bids that were received at that moment maybe were a little bit too high. So there's some more work being done to secure some bids for the bike racks. There was also quite a lot of discussion regarding the farmers market that has been happening the last couple of Saturdays. And I attended the farmers market, and I actually quite liked it. And I thought that, in terms, there was some concern I saw in various, maybe Facebook or that kind of thing, concerns regarding was there too much people there? Was everybody respecting the COVID restrictions and so on? And anyway, Jeff's opinion, I was there. Everybody had their mask on. Everybody was, all the tables and tents were reasonably spaced apart, which, in my opinion, of course, I didn't take a tape measure to it, but it looked like a nice event to me. So, yeah, so that was discussed. And also the Parks Board requested, which Bobby then sent, the permit application. And so that was sent over to the Parks Board. I guess we'll talk about that on the next go around. So, yeah, then we also talked about the possibility of bike rentals. You've probably seen this idea of the capital share bike rentals, or those red bikes that you see here and there around Rockville and so on. Well, we thought we might have might be a good idea to at least look into the possibility of having something similar to that in Poolsville, but it turns out that might be a somewhat cost prohibitive, because we might not, it's not really a heavy population density area. So that was kind of put to the side a little bit. There was also some talk about the skate park repainting, and there was a proposal put forward, which was a nice proposal put forward, to have the skate park repainted, because there's been maybe some graffiti on there and so on. So there's a plan to have that repainted, and there were some teenagers from the high school who offered to do some work and to do some investigation in terms of what kind of design there would be and so on. Preston had an idea to make it a giant sunflower, which sunflowers are popular. So anyway, no final decision on what the design might be, but apparently there's there's more usually these topics are more in depth than one might see on the surface. So there's a certain type of paint or whatever it's called, coatings, that you don't want to have it slippery, so that the skates, people fall over and stuff like that. So there's a little more into it, and also in terms of etching and trying to get what's on there currently taken off, so you can put on a fresh coat and that kind of thing. So that's still underway. And then the last little part of my report now is about the budget. So the Parks Board gave their input regarding the budget to Bobby and to Wade. So, and I know the draft was sent out today, and I haven't had an opportunity to read it through, but I would be sure Wade can answer up that the input from the Parks Board was included into the draft budget. I guess we'll talk about at the next commissioners meeting. And let's see, do I have anything else? Oh, yes, of course. How can I forget it? The topic of fish in the pond was again discussed. And yeah, it's kind of a revolving topic. And so anyway, it was reiterated that the ponds are storm water retention ponds, right? They're not sport fishing ponds. It is true that from time to time a pond gets stocked by the kindness of Preston or perhaps other folks who catch a fish over there and they bring it over here and they release it into the water, and that's great. But the ponds are not sport fishing ponds, period, underline, underscore. They are stormwater retention ponds, and there are fish in the ponds, and the purpose of the fish is to keep the algae to a minimum, but they are not necessarily sport fishing ponds. So that was talked about for, and that is everything. Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, just want
Yes.
to ask Jeff one thing.
Please.
Just let's see here. Last week, Friday, I wind up taking a group of scouts, young ladies that are in scouts, and a bike. We did the biking around Poolsville.
Wow.
And they had a great question because we were at the intersection, that crosswalk at Spates Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And and I realized,
Well, the big one across Fisher Avenue?
yeah, that big one going into
Yeah.
Spates Hill on Fisher
Yeah.
Avenue.
Yeah.
And maybe that could come up in a discussion with your committee. But the girls, they asked, how come we don't have something there like we do further down the road with the flashing lights and all? I said, well, I tell you what, I said, I'll bring it up at the next commissioners meeting. So I want to honor my word, and I'm bringing it up.
Okay. Okay.
And I think about folks at night or in the mornings trying to get over to the bus stop. And
sure, it's on the other side of the road.
on the other side. So if you're trying to come across from Spates Hill to get to the bus stop, going into to Rockville or Shady Grove, I'm sure that could, when it's kind of dusk outside, and cars tend to go a little faster right there.
They do, yeah.
So just you could let your committee know that
I will,
is in the scout.
Yeah, no, I think
Is that something that's come up before, Wade?
Yes, and I could give you a quick answer to that. That's actually a state highway road section in that area. For the same reasons we couldn't put the crosswalks and the flashing lights in front of Town Hall there was because it was state highway at that time. So until we take it over, the state does not recognize that as a safety device in the uniform manual of traffic devices. So that's why it can't be done at this time.
I don't want to go off the topic, but I think Ed's suggestion is still one we should take into consideration. And likewise, the intersection, right, I guess it's Elgin and Fisher Avenue, or right along, where the Bassett's is, and the Anytime Fitness, and the gas station, and the barbershop. That gets quite a lot of pedestrian traffic going, back and forth there too. So it would be nice to have those beautiful flashing safety lights at that crosswalk as well. But I think
Wooton's a good place too.
Yeah. No, I think Ed's point is good, because that's a very wide area there, and and the bus stop's on the opposite side. So yeah.
So Wade and Bobby will give you guys a long list of intersections.
Yeah.
But Wade, I did
Hold on,
I'm
Ruth.
listening to your point, Wade, about the state, and so that talks about who has jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And so not right at this moment, but at another time, maybe like to just look at how do you push the state to move forward in there, and hopefully it could be a process. I'm sure there's a process. There's a process for everything.
Now that we have established them on Fisher Avenue, that once was their road, it's act like a pilot program. I think you can go back with them, hopefully with some data. I don't know if there's any data out there on it yet, but that's what it typically takes: engineers reports and data reports on things like that. But the state itself has not adopted the flashing lights, which is crazy because every other state has. So it's kind of a thing we talk about every year at MML when we go to those conferences, and it's it's a big thing in the whole state. A lot of people want to do that.
So maybe that's something else to a worthwhile cause to take up. And Jim, as you're listening, think about fair access, to think about us, because what we don't want is to have someone get killed at that spot. And especially, I mean, every life is very valuable, but imagine young kids trying to get across, and how devastated we all would be if that happened to one of our kids in town. So perhaps something just to kind of to noodle on is looking at that process and where that advocacy and that lobbying, who do we need to go to really push that? And maybe it's working with other folks, because I believe if it can be done, then we find a way to get it done. But no is
Yeah,
not
I
going to be
think
a great answer.
Right.
Yeah, I think Ed, always had a similar issue over by the pool, and it's the same issue. We don't own that stretch of road, but
Yeah.
it's real dangerous during the summertime when swim team and the pool's open. So
And
Yeah, and
sometimes
now there's a
people take
whole there's a whole
risk.
neighborhood there. Stony Springs is right across from the pool.
That's
So
a
food for thought, because it's some people will miscalculate the rate of speed and the distance to dart across the street, and unfortunately not everyone stops at a crosswalk, and some people driving might not realize that there's a crosswalk and they're going so fast. So our focus is how do we prevent pedestrian fatalities.
I also just wanted to go back to one other thing that Jeff touched on from his Parks Board meeting, which is the ponds. Could Wade or Bobby, would one of you mind talking about kind of the relationship between the county and the town and the ponds? I think a lot of people don't quite understand that.
Okay, certainly. The county actually controls everything, every aspect of stormwater management in Montgomery County for Poolsville. So they have their own locks and key sets on all of the leveling boxes that control the levels of the ponds, and they come and drain them and dredge them. I mean, they have full authority over those ponds. They have maintenance agreements to go in, and they come and inspect the ponds and tell us, you need to cut the grass here or cut the berm here, or do things. So it's a working relationship with the town, but they have full authority over them.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's it seems sort of ironic, Poolsville ponds, but they're really managed by the county. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Okay, so that was a lot of great information. Now we're on to approval of minutes, and these were from our last meeting, April 5th, 2021. Does anyone have any changes or additions, omissions? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
A motion that we approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone joining us for public comment this evening?
No.
Okay. So moving on to old business. We have our human resource firm, the overview of the types of services. Do we have someone joining us, or?
I sent her an invite.
Yeah, the lady, her name is Drew Davis. She texted me and she said she's waiting in the waiting room.
Carrie, do
Is
you see
she
her?
there, Bobby?
I think Carrie, you're the host now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so she just texted me and she says she's hopping on. I guess that means she wasn't there. Yeah.
Maybe
Well, she has the link and all that. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, because I said, uh-oh, I don't see anyone.
Yeah. So do you want me to introduce the
Sure, that'd be
person?
great. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do it when she pops in. And I guess I hope she pops in here somewhere.
Okay, here she comes. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello,
Thanks for-
Drew.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm the person who you've been speaking with on the telephone.
Oh, nice to finally put a friendly face to the voice. Hi,
And
Jeff.
we never actually, other than telephone, we never actually met like on a Zoom thing or whatever. So nice to see you for the first time. On the Zoom thing. So this lady is a Drew Davis, and she works for a company called Bambi HR. I believe you're in California, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
We're a
so-
California-based company.
California-based company. They have offices in different places, but I believe Drew is in California. And so I was taxed, I guess, I don't know, at the last meeting or meeting before or so, to see if I can find an outsourced HR company that might be able to help us with a variety of things that we, need to put together for the best interest of the staff and the best interest of the town overall. So I didn't do anything very deep in terms of research, but I did a Google, and several companies popped up, and I contacted all of them, and I got an answer from one of them, and that was Miss Davis here. So we had a couple of chats on the telephone just to see if it was anywhere near what we were looking for. And it seemed like, I don't want to prejudge anything, but at least some of the boxes were ticked. So I invited, as we agreed last commissioner meeting, to invite Miss Davis onto the Zoom meeting so she can explain a little bit about the services from the Bambi HR company. So I hope that's enough of an introduction, Drew, and I guess I'll turn it over to you.
It is. Thank you. And thanks everyone, for allowing me to come speak with you. Like Jeffrey said, we had a couple of conversations, just preliminary, so I can get a better understanding of what your needs are and your expectations when you're looking for HR support. So high overview, yes, we're a California-based company, but we service all 50 states. So you will get a dedicated HR manager for your account, someone that we want them to feel like an extension of your team. So anytime you guys have a compliance question or an employee situation, need a new policy to be created and put in place, your HR manager here at Bambi is going to be your go-to. So you will be able to reach out to them via phone, email, also chat directly through our staff management platform. And really, keep you guys up to date, keep you within compliance. We want to help small businesses, organizations of yourself avoid employee fines, right? And penalties and, those state and federal required regulations, keeping you guys up to date. I know COVID has been it's shaken that up a lot within this last year. So staying up to date with, what is required for you guys. And when an employee does come to you, with either experiencing COVID symptoms or need to take off or what, just making sure we're handling those situations properly, right? Making sure that we have a foundation in place. And at the end of the day, that you guys have that protection and we're taking care of our people. So that's us in a nutshell. So the first step that we usually take is an audit. So during this process, it's really for your HR manager to get to learn more about your processes, right? So we want to partner with you. It's very collaborative to see, hey, where are some areas maybe you feel like you guys have opportunity, like we really need help streamlining some of these things, and how your HR manager can help you with smoothing that out. So we'll walk through your onboarding process. What do you have in place currently? Do you have job descriptions nailed down? If not, okay, we'll help you with that. We'll make sure we get those up and running. When it comes to compensation, with wage and minimum wage, are we meeting that? Are we, up to date with Fair Labor Standards Act requirements? We want to make sure we have that checked off. Do we have an official offer letter? Do we have something formal to be signed off on? Once we've got everybody onboarded, policies, like this is another big thing that we focus on, is making sure, do we have the right policies in place? Are they signed off on by everyone? If there are changes, how quickly are we able to revise those and keep those up to date with your employees? And then performance management is another big piece. So that also encompasses trainings, so we'll go over state required trainings like sexual harassment, diversity, workplace safety, also other trainings that you feel may be best for your staff and your team. Hey, we have people who may, go into a management role. what kind of support can we give to them? You know, what trainings can we have them go through? So you'll work alongside with your HR manager to get those administered as well. And then terminations, the part that everyone hates, but it happens. You know, also resignations, just making sure that even with offboarding, we're within compliance and we have those documents that are needed. Sometimes there's state required information that needs to be given to every employee. You know, also retention of records. We're also able to do that with our platform for you. In a nutshell. Any questions about any of that, or maybe about the service more in detail you'd like me to go into?
I have a couple questions if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, of course.
Thank you for being here, first of all.
Thank you.
Does your company offer you mentioned an HR manager that would work with us?
Mm-hmm.
Would this individual be like versed in Maryland law? Like would they be someone based here in Maryland? I know every state's got very different intricate rules and laws and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be a Maryland based.
So no, I was saying yes to this comes up a lot, right? So, you know, we want to make sure that whoever we pair you with has good understanding. The one way how we're able to support all 50 states, be transparent, we don't have anybody there in Maryland. It will be a remote manager that would be in another state, but they are going to make sure that they are up to date. So we also have our in-house compliance team. So that's built up of all of our HR managers, you know, they all have various backgrounds. We cover all industries. Two, we have a legal team that they make sure they consult with to make sure any documents that are created for your policies do meet those requirements before giving them to you. You know, because at the end of the day, we're also a business, you know, just to be upfront, we want to make sure that you guys are in a good position. We also want to protect ourselves too. So we're never going to give, you know, information to basically make us both vulnerable. So they won't be in Maryland, but we will make sure that they're up to date and keep you guys up to date. So for instance, I'm trying to think of what happened recently with COVID, you know, sick leave. So I know that changed in multiple states. So if you guys were affected, they would send you a notice and let you know, hey, as of March 29th, 2021, this just went into effect. These are the next steps of what we need to do. So they will be proactive in letting you guys know when there are changes.
Okay, great. And what's your fee structure? Is it like a monthly fee and we throw everything we have at you, or are there different tiers? How does that work?
Mm-hmm. So we have two plans. So we are a subscription-based service. So we can do a month-to-month option for you. You would pay, you know, what we call full price because, you know, you get a better discount when you do it annual. So we have that as well. So if you pay for the full year of service up front, you do save 20%. It is based on employee headcounts. So we start at 1 to 4, then we have what we call our small business plan, 5 to 19. And I believe me and Jeff were talking about the growing plan, which is 20 to 49, which is where you guys may fall into.
And what is that? How much does that run a month?
Mm-hmm. So if you want to do a month to month, it's $299 a month. And if you want to do the annual, it's $2,868 for the whole year. And it breaks down to $239 a month. So you can see that savings there. That's
great. That sounds very reasonable. And we're in the process of doing a search for a new town manager. Would your organization be able to do things like background checks, reference checks, things like that?
Yeah, and I heard about that when me and Jeff first spoke, is because your other town manager had left or was in the process of resigning. So we do partner with a background check service that, you know, as a Bambee client, you would get a discounted rate if you use them. And they vary from, you know, basic background checks to more detailed. They also do drug and alcohol testing as well. So you would have access to that. You know, also when it comes to onboarding, right? Like you'd be able to utilize our staff management platform. So this is HR software that would help you kind of automate just those nuanced things, like when you need to send documents to be completed by employees. Now, instead of having a paper, you know, or a packet, right, per se that you have to print out every time, or, you know, how do we keep track of this? All those documents will now be sent electronically to your employees to have them sign off on and complete in the platform.
And so if I'm understanding you correctly, like to do background checks and to do reference checks is an extra fee, is that correct?
Yes, there would be, because it would be through a third-party vendor that we partner with.
Okay. Okay, and then it's at some point, not right now necessarily, but would you mind sending us or Jeff or whoever that kind of pricing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could put that together and get that sent over to you. And then also a breakdown in all the services that they offer in case there were other things that you guys may need.
Great, great.
Could you tell
And
me a little bit?
you,
Oh,
I
sorry,
assume
go
you
ahead,
all will be able to help write employee contracts, like for a new, assuming we hire a new town manager here pretty soon. I think we need a fresh contract. You can help with that, input on that.
Yeah, so what we normally do, you can either do like an employee agreement or it'd be like your official offer letter. So in essence, that would outline, the start date, rate of pay, what their duties are, if there's a probationary fee, period. And make sure that you have that to present to the town manager if they accept your verbal offer. And then they want to move forward, they will sign off on that, and then we'd house that on the platform for you. So yeah, we can
Great.
help you with that.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, thanks, Martin.
Did you have
Drew?
something, Matt?
Edward?
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit more about your recruitment process, what that looks like? How do you, because it varies from industry to industry. And so you're looking at people with certain talent and a certain niche. What would that recruitment process look like?
And that's a great question. Thanks for bringing that up. So Bambi, we don't do anything with recruiting. We don't do anything with payroll or benefits administration. Our focus and so core of our offering is on compliance. And the reason being, what we saw out in the marketplace, there's a lot of payroll companies who offer a layered kind of HR support, whether it's more like a hotline, a call center, or they just give you resources, but you're still doing, the brunt of the work, or you're still trying to figure out, hey, is this applied to my organization? Like, I really don't understand. If you don't have an HR background, it's a little harder to navigate. So we wanted to offer a more comprehensive, a robust HR offering. So as you're going along, you're understanding the risks that are involved with the decisions that are being made, and we want to help you keep those as low as possible. So to do that, we can't split up our attention through like recruiting and payroll and things. We only want to focus on compliance. Now, to be transparent again, it comes up a lot, right? Like, oh, I have to have my payroll over here, and then we have to have a service for HR, and then we have to have a service for this. Some people don't like to have multiple, services. Well, everything all in one. So we've heard that, and it is something that we're working on to be able to offer those additional services, but we want to make sure we're doing it where it's not compromising the level with HR support currently. So it's not something now that we do, but it could be down the line.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And Drew, I have a question about the training, because you and I talked about various training capabilities, but does the trainer, is it a real person, or is it an online training where you just watch a video, that kind of thing, or are there different choices?
Yeah, so with the trainings, we currently offer web-based. So they are online training. So that way, we currently help small business that have employees in multiple states, or it's given now, like people are remote, right? People are not necessarily in an office space any longer. So having an online training is just a lot easier, where we go through all the trainings that we have, see what will be a good fit. Once we get your employees registered, then a link would be sent to them, and they have an amount of time that training would take. It is a mix of video, reading, they have to answer questions, so they have to be engaging before they can get a certificate of completion from those trainings, but they are all online trainings.
Then the system somehow keeps track of who completed and who has yet to complete, that kind of
Correct.
thing?
Yes, you will be able to see who is completed, who is not. We can also give like due dates, like, okay, this training has to be completed by, X, Y, and Z, and things like that. So we can kind of keep track of it. And
we mentioned the word policies a couple of different times. And are the policies kind of, pre-canned, or would they be in some way modified to fit our particular requirements as a town government and town staff?
Mm-hmm. And great question. So yes, there are some that are just like your core protective documents, right? They're just a blanket of protection. We just want to make sure those are in place, which usually cover like your sexual harassment policy, non-harassment, equal employment opportunity, use of communications and computer systems. And then we'll go into what we call custom policies. So that's where we figure out, okay, what is it that we need to have in place for you guys? Are there policies that you have now that maybe they haven't been updated in a while? You want us to make new ones for you, and really speak to, your expectations, right? I also love seeing that, you guys pride yourself and want to maintain, your small city, like that real tight knit community, like your village. So we want that to be portrayed through your policies as well, right? So we want to make sure that when we put something in place, you guys are able to give input. You're really collaborative with your HR manager. We kind of go back and forth before, you make the last approval before it gets sent to your employees. So that way we will customize it to your needs.
And the person who who would be our HR manager, is that a different person every time we call on the phone, or is it the same person?
No, dedicated means one person for you guys. So of course, if they're on vacation or they're out sick, there will be another HR manager that fills in. But the premise is to make sure that you have only one person. So when you're working with Jill, hey, Jill, every time you reach out to her, you call her, you send her a message. And it's really because we don't want it to be disconjointed. Like you can speak to one person and it's, they give you advice based on like their experience and, what they would do. Then when you speak to somebody different, things start to sound different, right? That voice is not the same. It's not streamlined across the board. So that's why we only give you one HR manager to work with. And we want them to feel like, a part of your team. Like even though they're remote, they're that extension, but every time you reach out, we're able to pick up where we left off last time.
Okay. Well, like you and I talked on the phone, right? This meeting is not about making a decision. It's just, kind of picking your brain and kind of a learning opportunity for us, or certainly for myself, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a chance to open it up like we did to have others ask questions to make sure that everybody would feel, the same, right? If this does seem like it would be a viable option and fit, great. We can discuss next steps at that point in time, but definitely just discovery. So you guys get to know a little bit more about Bambee, outside of just our offerings, right? And what we can do to help support you. We're a small business. We're turning 5 in July of this year. So I like to say we're going to be a big kid now. I say once you hit your 5th year, you're a legitimate business. So excited about that. We currently service over, the count last time was like over 4,500 small businesses throughout the US. We do cover all industries. And if you haven't had a chance to, I always say our website has a wealth of information. And you also can see like our company. So you can see who our CEO is. His name is Alan Jones. He's always been in the small business space, and he was the CMO with ZipRecruiter previously, as well as a lot of like our engineers and things of that nature. So really wanting to bring this type of support to small businesses and give the resource was his goal, his dream. Like growing up, his father was a small business owner, and they underwent some hardship when he actually was sued for a wrongful termination. So this has always been a part of Alan's, driving force in getting a professional HR person available to a small business where you don't have to always go to a lawyer, right? And get charged crazy hourly fees, or, a consultant, but being able to protect yourself.
Can I ask you about how many small governments do you work with?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I don't know, but I can get that information as well.
Just curious. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions for Drew? No? Okay. Well, thanks, Drew. Very nice seeing you in person.
I know, same. And hey, in the Zoom where I was like, they made us these little cool backgrounds. I was like, perfect, because this is our new reality, right?
Yeah, indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. Yes.
No,
Thank
nice
you so much
all.
for joining us and for giving all of that great information.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
No, same.
Thank
you guys
you.
enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you.
you.
Have a great evening.
Hey, thanks.
Bye.
Great. Now we're on to new business, the presentation of the fiscal year 22 budget.
Kiri, I do have a few slides prepared if you wanted me to share my screen and go through them. Might be the easiest way to do that.
Great. Okay, let me. Okay, now you're host. You're it.
Tag them it. Okay, guys got me?
Yes.
Looks good.
Okay. So this evening, I put a summary together of the budget work session and the proposed budget. So we don't have to go line through line over every single thing, but I did highlight all the important things that we spoke of during the work session. So we'll just take a look at the general fund revenue to start out with. And this year's budget proposes to maintain that constant tax rate of 17.81 cents per $100 of assessment of property values. The town still continues to receive that 17% of income taxes generated within our jurisdiction, and it has increasingly grown over the past few years. More folks living here, and in general, income's going up. Highway user funds and the wireless antenna rentals have also increased. The highway users were due to more mileage of roadways turned in, and then the wireless antennas have a little over 4% increase annually. So those are our biggest generators of revenue for the town. And this year we're projected to be just over 4 million as far as revenue goes. On the operating side, we're budgeted for $2.88 million for operating. And that includes your town administration, parks, electricity, maintenance, streetlights, trash removal, engineering fees. I mean, just there's a whole lot of things involved in that that we go through. I have listed out some specialty type items that are in the operating funds, and fair access. Actually, it's still a priority. A lot of things still going on there. There is funds for a grant writing, and then a human resource consultant, like we just spoke of, is included in this budget. We did go ahead and do the 5% salary increase for the employees, and did an overtime allotment for a one-time for on-call staff. There's also funding in here for an additional administrative position and for a comprehensive planning consultant for the rewrite of the comprehensive master plan.
Hey, Wade.
Yes.
Oh, can you go back one page, please? So it says the town receives 17%. Who gets the other 83?
State of Maryland.
State of Maryland. And what about, does Montgomery County get some?
They probably do. Yes. I'm not sure that what their percentage is.
Okay. And then could you go to the next page? And what does the word allotment mean in this context?
That we created a specialty hour and a half overtime pay for having a cell phone and being on call, not for actually answering or doing anything, but just for having it on your person.
Okay, then
That's
what
all
happens?
it means. It's earmarked. It's earmarked for that.
Yeah, okay, so that's fine. But then what happens if the person gets a call and they have to come in and snowplow or something?
And then they get paid.
Okay. So did you? Yeah, I think we talked about this before. But did you talk with the staff about this? Is that fair to them?
They brought it to me as I
Okay.
relayed to you guys last time.
Yeah, you did mention that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to some general capital projects.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more quick. Could you go back one? Yeah, I don't think as fast as you do. So funding for administrative. So these are in the budget, right?
Yes, sir.
But is it possible that maybe we have a change of heart and we say, well, we don't want to spend that money for just make an example, administrative position or a planning consultant, just to make an example, right?
Sure.
We're not obligated to spend that money, right?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay, so just because it's in there doesn't mean we have to spend money. Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. For the general capital projects, we have $760,000 allocated towards capital projects, and it's a mixed things to the different accounts that we have in the budget. Anything from future office requirements? Yes, Jeff?
Yeah, I this is a nice list, but I don't see like painting of the wastewater treatment plant. That needs a paint job.
Yes. What we're talking here is what's going to happen in 2022. This is this budget only, not out years at this time. And we had our work session. We discussed not going all through every line by line and just doing a summary of the 22 budget. So that's what's reflected in this presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We are going to paint the outside of town hall. All our mowers and tractors and trucks are on 10-year cycles, and we're replacing 3 different mowers and tractors and 3 different trucks in 22. Street lighting and streetscape, intersection of Hughes Road and Tom Fox. Now, I didn't hear about the speed humps until just tonight. So that's not reflected anywhere in the budget so far.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a thing, right? That's already well planned.
Well planned, but not executed in the budget.
Okay, well, I hate to say it, but it needs to get in there.
Okay. Everybody else on board with that too?
Well, I don't know, that we've been talking about this for as long as I've been, I joined in November and it was a thing at that time.
Right. I just like to hear some from other commissioners to make sure it's,
Okay,
but I should amend the budget.
Well, I'm just
I'm good
trying
with it
to
if
think
Park
back. I
Board
mean,
approved
we
it.
would, yeah, we would need to, I mean, Bobby, do you have a recollection of if this is something that we took a vote on?
I don't think you took a vote on it. The commissioners didn't vote on it.
You certainly don't have to vote on it right now, but if you have just the number of you that want to go ahead and say, hey, this is a good idea to go ahead and put it in the budget. Again, we're back to it. It doesn't have to be spent, but it'll be place marked in the budget. I don't have a number yet. I'll have to talk to John Strong, see how many humps we're talking about. It's probably not a lot of money because they're not too expensive, but
John had it all worked out and he said it would be done when the weather turns warm.
Bobby, was there other money put aside or something? I haven't seen it either.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're,
Money left in paving
It might be
that he
out
might,
of a maintenance, if it's inexpensive enough.
right.
So I will go ahead and check with John and see if it can fit into the budget in another place. That's street
Yeah, I
maintenance that we
have
have.
Yeah,
Thanks,
let's leave it like that, because I do have a recollection of it being with paving as well.
Okay.
so you're gonna check on it, Wade?
Yep, I sure will.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. And then we're going to be replacing the Hamels Park restroom. Only a slight amount of general funds go towards that because Bobby was able to get an $82,000 grant from the state. And then we're switching over to rubberized tot lot mulch, getting rid of the wood chips because they deteriorate so quickly and getting much more expensive. And then the bike racks and pollinator patch are also in there for the 22 budget.
Mhm.
And then, as we were just talking about, we are accumulating funds for the 23 paving program, and that's a tune of about $400,000 a year that is saved up and goes towards the paving program, which is done every other year. Okay?
Okay.
Water and wastewater revenue. Total revenue projected this year is 1.477 million. And the majority of that does come from user fees, your water and sewer bills. Currently, we're projecting a $40,000 deficit. And so this budget does reflect raising the water rates 2%. And while that will not make up the deficit, even close to it, it's part of, the code allows this, it's just a part of budget, passing the budget. And I think there's going to be an evaluation next year of where we are as far as expenditures go and a water rate study.
Now that deficit is really made up from the general fund?
It's correct.
Okay. So, yeah, so I had this really confused in my mind and I think I'm a little bit clearer about it now. That the rates that we pay for water, right? Because I get a water bill and then I pay it, or my wife pays it. But anyway, so we get a water rate. But then in addition to that, there's, taxes that we pay to the town of Poolsville. So however, whichever pocket you take it out of, it pays for the water, right? So yeah, I was thinking at some moment that maybe the water rate should be increased in order to be self-sufficient. But in a sense, it already is self-sufficient because part of the money to pays for the water comes from the water rates, that why you call it the user fees. And the other part just comes out of the taxes, right? So whether you take the money out of my left pocket or my right pocket, the water is completely paid for by taxes by money from people, residents.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm just kind of, I guess I'm talking to myself. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So when we look at the water and wastewater operating expenses, which does include electricity, the chemicals, maintenance, laboratory, small repairs on things, truck budgets, insurances, all those type of things. We're looking at 1.516 million as far as expenses go. And the biggest things that really did hit us out of there, besides salaries, which we increased to 5%, water testing. The state has mandated some new testing be done on the wells this year or in 22, and then the sludge hauling, which we're trying to work on how to curve that as far as expenses go, because it's shipping it up to Pennsylvania and you pay by the ton. So
Yeah.
dewatering it makes it lighter. So we're trying to think out of the box on how we can do better at that.
What, by getting it drier?
Exactly.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
I guess drier sludge weighs less.
Exactly right.
When you pay by the ton, it makes a difference.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So when we look at the water and wastewater capital projects, which are paid out of the general fund also, some of the things we're looking at this year is water valve replacements. Those are out in the streets to isolate valves during water main breaks. We have a wastewater treatment plant roof, several electrical upgrades and HVAC system at the water treatment plant, and then some replacement hydrants all throughout town. We're going to be cleaning out some tanks and wet wells and installing some new mixers. And then we continue funding for sewer line repairs, as we talked about, in our joint session we had, and then replacement of some specific water lines. We've been saving money up to do some water line replacements. And so we've identified the two worst sections, and they're certainly on the list to be done in 22.
Now, the thing about replacement of water lines, is that the I&I project that we spoke
No.
about with Mr. Strong the other night?
No, this one here, the continued funding for the sewer line repairs is the I&I. This is
Oh.
actually drinking water lines
Oh,
that
okay.
run in front of your houses. Yep.
Okay.
We have a couple sections that are in really bad condition and should be replaced.
And what about the replacement of the liner of the, what's that called? Over by the wastewater treatment plant?
So John Strong is going to be putting a memo or a report together on the lagoon system. in
Lagoon, that's
general.
the word I was thinking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I did talk to him about it after our last meeting, and he said that there were some boring tests that were done, and it doesn't appear that there's any breach in the line, the clay liner of the facility at all. There's no leakage going on. So he's been through an exhaustive research, but he needs to put the report together and get it to you guys, so and the staff, so everybody understands what's going on over there and what's needed, because there's some pumping situations that need to happen. So
Yeah.
there's a whole report going to be coming your way on that.
Okay, swell. Thank you.
And there's also funding in the budget that's already allocated in 20. So it's sitting there right now, ready for his report and for some of the improvements to be done.
But if it's in 20,
It's
That's-
just not been spent. It was kind of, everything was on hold the last whole year. So
is it a capital improvement project? Because it
Yes.
can't spend expense money from a previous budget year.
no, well, capital is different from operations. Operations is use it or lose it. The capitals can carry.
Okay. Okay, swell. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that part. I was just making sure.
Okay. So then just looking at the overall balance budget, it's a balanced budget. It addresses the priorities of the commissioners. Adequate reserve fund is set up for a rainy day fund, so that's good. And the full document is online at poolesvillemd.gov for anybody, and it has very detailed information, a breakdown of every project we talk about, all the operations. So it's very transparent and easy to read.
What is the mandate? Can you go back one page? What is the mandate regarding the reserve fund?
The commissioners have placed their own mandate on there that it would be 75% or be 17.5% of the budgeted revenue for the year you're discussing.
Okay. And is that what the word adequate means?
Adequate means we have it in the excess of it right now a little bit.
Okay. So we're not underfunded.
No, correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So any other questions?
That looks great, Wade. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Carrie.
Now,
I can
this
give
is
that-
the document that Bobby sent to us by email?
Yes, so what you received today would have been the cleaned up version and completed notes, graphs, charts, introduction, all that kind of stuff that we talked about and had at the draft at our work session. So it was a tuned up.
And when are
version
we
of that.
required to turn it into the state of Maryland?
Bobby turns into the county, and it's going to be May 17th. They'll be adopting this. This is projected right now, and the county's giving us leeway, usually the 15th. So they've given us extra time because of everything that's been going on.
So right now we need to set up a public, excuse me, yes, a public hearing for 2 weeks from today. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's May 3rd.
Okay.
Let me stop share.
So, and this is actually an ordinance number
Yes, it has to be. Yep.
218, fiscal year 22 operating budget and tax rate, public hearing. Would someone like to make a motion to set up that ordinance for May 3rd, public hearing?
What's the ordinance number?
218.
I make a motion that we schedule ordinance 218 for May 3rd, is it?
Yes.
I agree. Or second, yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for that presentation, Wade, and for the meeting the other night.
So that means my regular commissioner meeting on May the 3rd will be a public hearing. So hopefully there'll be a lot of people to make public comment. Is that the idea?
There'll be a public hearing that will be a portion of our business meeting.
Okay, swell. Thank you.
Okay, Bobby, we're on to your
Don't have anything.
report.
You have anything about American Rescue Fund? Montgomery County hadn't got their money yet, so they don't know when we'll get our money.
So they're promising us money, but nobody has it.
Yeah.
Well, when it first came out, that's what I heard was, you know, don't hold your breath too long.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
It's
be
gonna take
60 days, 60
it's gonna
days.
take
to
some
get that
time.
stuff. So till Montgomery County calls me and says, I got your money.
Anybody have any questions for Bobby or Wade? Or Jay?
Wade, I just want to compliment Wade for what you've been putting together and how you rolled up your sleeves and jumped right in. Also, just want to compliment Bobby for just jumping in and just doing all the work that you're doing, staying up here these late nights and getting in so early and then staying up here. So I just want to say thank you both to Wade and Bobby for all that you're doing. And Jay, want to thank you and John as well, because I know everyone's working together as a team to move us over this bridge to the other side. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ed said it better than I can, but you guys make us all look good. So thank you very much. Yeah. We pop on a meeting here every 2 weeks, and you guys are doing the work every single day. So yeah, thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you. Well, unless there's anything else, I think we can call for a motion to adjourn.
Well, I have a question, but I don't know. I'm at a loss for words today. So a while back, we had this conversation about, maybe it's too late, but in the day, we had this conversation about a fee, an impact fee that the property developers were going to pay. And Wade, keep me honest here. So it sounds like in terms of the budget, that an impact fee, because we already have the connection fee, is not going to be, or maybe it's Jay I should posing this to for clarification, that we do not need the impact fee because we have the connection fee. Is that correct?
Oh,
I can't hear you, Jay. I think you're muted.
You're muted.
How about now?
okay. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of back work that we have to do. Last week's meeting with the Planning Commission was the foundation. And what we need to do is figure out what the costs are going to be for the projects that we're going to do. So as of now, impact fees are being paid by the existing developments, more or less. The connection fee is being paid by the developments that are new going forward. And I would say that in the future, you're going to be looking at recalculating or at least reaffirming what those numbers are. So they aren't going to play into this budget, except in the fact that Wade has allocated what we've received and what we anticipate to receive in the year. Wade, you can talk about the numbers, I guess.
Well, actually, yeah, we really don't know. I've not counted any because we have an account set up for them to go into, and we don't know if we're going to be receiving or expending any funds at this time. So like in the middle, it's like nothing's happening yet to collect those funds.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember that maybe this is going back several months, that I believe some of the developers were told they had to pay a certain, I'm going to call it impact fee. And I guess there was some pushback on that.
Well,
That
I would
hasn't
imagine.
happened yet.
That was just discussed as a possibility when Seth was here, that we might want to consider in order to fund some of the I&I issues, to increase the impact fee on new development. That's something that we never really even debated all that much. So,
All right. So it's basically a non-issue then at the moment.
At the moment, it isn't. It's not off the table, because what you need to do is you need to finish the projects that we haven't started yet, and then you'll know how much you spent, and that will be the top of the division equation, and then you can divide it among the bottom being the new units and the money that you have. So there is still a lot of work to be done, but that isn't anything in the near future.
Okay.
and while we're talking about this, Wade, just to get you up to speed, when we were discussing this possibility, months ago when Seth was here, he was going at some point he was going to look into to get us an analysis of whether our impact fees are in line with like neighboring, local jurisdictions. I know that's difficult. You can't really compare apples to apples, but he was going to do the best he could. I don't know if that's something we still want to ask someone to do or not. But I'd like to know that if we are going to consider the possibility of increasing our impact fees.
Well, yes, because right now you don't have an impact fee for any of the growth going forward past Westerly Grove. In fact, you have a document you adopted that says you will pay a connection fee in lieu of an impact fee. So it's kind of like it's crossing itself up here. You need to change your document to say you're going to have a connection fee and an impact fee, or wipe it out. It's like none of it meshes. I mean, that was the purpose of the connection fee in general, to be the new impact fee with a different name.
Right. Well, but I wonder if it makes sense to look into like whether or not, whatever you call it, whether it's impact or connection, whether we're in line with other jurisdictions that are in Montgomery County.
Yeah, I think it is important that be done, but I don't think it'll be helpful now, because if you do it now, by the time we get to it, you'll want to do it again to see if it's changed, because it's
okay. Good. Yeah.
And what you're doing more or less is seeing what the market is. And just to give you the quick example, let's just say that you do all the calculations exactly right, and you found out your impact fee should be $100,000 a house. You need to know that would price you out of the market, that would essentially kill growth. So you may say, well, we're going to have to do something to lower that. So yeah, it's a relevant thing, but I would say when we do go down the path of impact fees, that's when you're going to want the latest and accurate information.
Yeah. And then before we adjourn, one quick question too about where we stand with the town manager hunt, what's happening there. We're just taking a week off on discussing that. Is that right?
I don't know.
You probably should discuss the next moves for the HR consultant as well as the town manager. I think both can move into parallel. I mean, we've not really talked about the specifics of it, except for maybe going out to putting together an RFP for the HR consultant.
Well, can we take a vote tonight to put together an RFP for an HR consultant? I think do we need to make a motion for that?
Well,
probably should, because you're going to be spending funds. So
okay, I make a motion that we task staff with coming up with putting together an RFP for us to potentially hire an HR consultant.
This is Jeff. Well, I guess you know my name, but yeah. So I will volunteer to write the RFP if anybody wants me to write an RFP, and then I can send it to everybody, and you're welcome to mark it up like we've been doing. If anybody wants me to do that, or if you feel it's more relevant, more appropriate for someone else to do it, I'm good with that too.
I think it's appropriate for it to be staff.
Okay, that's fine.
I think we should
Thank you,
probably
though.
have some discussion about what we listened to today, because there's some, from our notes, what we liked, what we didn't like, what was, it's because it seems like she presented and then we moved on, but we probably need to have some discussion to see what would be some things that were worthwhile. So then we could look at what information staff would need to put together an RFP. I think I think we're just missing one step, and that is just that discussion piece, fine tuning what we would be looking for, and then making sure that makes sense, and then move the direction for the RFP.
All right. Well, I know I sound like a broken record, but we need to, I feel like we're not moving as quickly as we probably should be on this search, but that's just my 2 cents.
No, I agree with you. So do we have time before we adjourn? Can we maybe just have a little follow-up discussion on what we've heard tonight from that the person from Bambi?
Yeah,
Sure.
go for it, Ed.
Sure, I'll start us off with my notes. I like the information about the focus on the compliance, the onboarding, the performance management. I would like to see someone that's also involved in the recruitment aspect as well. So I didn't like the fact that they weren't involved in the recruitment. And I think it's important to maybe have somebody who's local. Well, when I say local, someone that goes beyond a web-based service. I think that just looking at our town and our needs, I think at some point, while Zoom is great, but at some point we'll be in person. And I think just for my own interaction with staff, being able to have someone that they could see, that they could talk with, and when it comes to the trainings and things like that, having a person that is able to be physically present when it's safe to do that would be helpful.
Yeah, I made some notes too. And I think my brain works more like in bullet points. So I wrote down some bullet points. And so I think one of the first steps is to do an audit on what we have, and then you can kind of identify some gaps, and maybe some things are perfect already, and maybe some things are just completely absent. So I think that's an important element of it. Also policy. So we need like a policy manual, maybe, or not maybe, but we need that so everybody knows what the rules of the game are. And, usually you have policies, not because everything goes well, but when something goes a little bit off the rails. And then you can kind of say, well, you got to stick to this, you got to, color within the lines, because that's what the book says. If you don't have a book, then everybody's making up their own thing. So you got to have their written stuff written down. People have to know about it. They have to have read it and, kind of signed off if they agree with it. Or at least they understand it, right? Agreement's a different story. And having a dedicated person. So when I pick up the phone, or when someone picks up the phone, you want to ask for, can I speak with so-and-so? And I don't want to get someone, different every time. Also, I agree with Ed. I think having someone in Maryland or at least nearby that can occasionally drive over and chat with us and shake hands and stuff like that, I think that's useful. I agree. Recruitment, typically HR people are very involved in terms of recruitment. So I think that's an important element as well. And maybe it's a little bit too much to ask for, but I would like to see someone that has a government experience, because that's a whole different animal than corporate experience. So yeah, I think those are the bullet points that I wrote down, and I'll be happy to put that into an email. So whoever's going to craft the RFP can, choose to take these items and embellish them or disregard, So that's what I wrote down as well.
Well, depending on how the RFP is written, in my mind, that would be maybe step number one for, a company that provides these services to do the actual audit, to come in and say, well, this is where you're lacking. You're okay here. This is where you need most of our services,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think an audit is just really standard. With and across, just
right.
An outside. The benefit of an outside person is
right.
to come in and look at it because they're not so close to it.
Exactly.
When we look, my bullets were a firm that specializes in recruitment, compliance, and training. Those, when I think of HR, those are the three core areas. Right. And so that piece, and I think that person would have to be able to work with our town manager. And so it's really a resource, just like how Jack and Jay are resources. All right. Now I believe we would use Jack and Jay more frequently than we would use an HR person. But I think an HR person that's like an HR consultant that could come in, knock out an audit, go, because once you got your policies in place, you have them in place. Once you have your evaluation system or your performance management system and your training plans, that structure in place, you're not constantly revising that, but you might have a periodic revisions, you know, where, but I think that recruitment piece, and I think the town manager can recruit the other positions, where I think when you look at the town manager position, that piece is a big one. And then if we look at an assistant town manager as well. So I think going toward that RFP, a firm that specializes, now I'm going to be a little redundant, a firm that specializes in working with small to mid-sized municipalities that can focus on compliance, recruitment, and training.
I guess I would like to kind of ask staff, you know, Wade and Jay and Bobby, you know, where do you think we should start? You know, is it, are we at the point where we're directing you to come up with this RFP and then we go from there? You know, what is your feeling about a starting place here?
Let me get it, Jay. Or...
Yeah, you go start. You start.
Okay, so I've been doing some research on it, and typically I have the same notes that Ed and Jeff did, all the way down the board, exactly for word. You know, we thought that I talked to Bobby about it earlier. We're probably going to be in contact with Maryland Municipal League and find out what types of firms are being used already with municipalities in Maryland, and get a start from that right there for a list that we would narrow down to send out an RFP to. I see it a couple of different ways. One is you have to have the audit to come in, and it's going to set policies in place, performance management, all those things. And then you're going to have the recruitment part of it as another, but then you're going to have the ongoing piece. And a lot of the firms that I've been looking at, they're almost project-based for the first two I spoke of, and then ongoing fee for the rest of them. And I think they're probably going to see that. And that may have been more what Druid had also, but we really didn't get into the details of how they kind of do things like that. Because I saw the price, I was like, well, that's an ongoing, you know, maintenance type of a fee for an HR person, and just tuning you up. And when you come in to do those initial audits and put policies in and write employee manuals, and that's all going to be, I would imagine, a project based. And that's probably how we're going to have to write the RFP up. But we'll see how they come back. But a lot of companies have package deals that deal exactly with some of this stuff also that I've looked at. So yeah, I can just put it all together in RFP, send it to you guys, and let you review it. It's comprehensive, but it's not overwhelming at all. Easy.
Right.
So what if we were to go back? Oh, go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
One of the things, when Wade and I had talked about this a little earlier, the idea would be if we can get this firm, this company that does all of these things online, we don't have to introduce ourselves to them more than once. They're going to be seeing through the recruitment process what we're like. They're going to be seeing through the RFP process. They're going to be learning from us. And so if it's like a one-stop shop with them, it helps us build the rapport through one of our difficult times, which is hiring our leader. So that's why we kind of looked at, if we wrote the RFP encompassing all of this, it would be a one-stop shop when we're done.
So what I was thinking then, if we were to circle back, because I know there was a motion on the floor, but we didn't get to a second or a vote or anything. I think we just kind of dove into discussion.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Martin made the motion. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if we would go back now and maybe if Martin was to restate his motion, and then just keep me honest with this. I'm almost done being a newbie. I'm still learning. What's the next step?
Well, Martin, do you want to say your same motion or change your motion?
No, I already said it. I'm not going to say it again. Just kidding.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see how you are.
I'll make a motion that we task our excellent staff with putting together an RFP for an HR firm.
All right, I'll second his motion.
Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
I have another question.
Yep.
Not on the HR topic. And I should have asked it like a half an hour ago. But Wade, where did the 2 cents increase in water rate come from? I don't remember we talking about that last week.
2% increase,
On the two, is it two? It's 2 cents, right?
2%.
Well, that's worse. Well, actually, I don't know.
No. It 2% is more than 2 cents because it at $9, $9.71 now goes to $9.99. So it's a bigger. It's going to bring in. I'm not sure how much revenue exactly, but it just bumps it up a notch. It's probably about 15 grand. It's going to bring in coffers.
But I don't remember like agreeing to that or even talking about it.
Yep, it was on the presentation.
Oh,
You haven't agreed to it yet. You'll be agreeing to it when you vote on the budget, if it's still in the budget when you decide to vote on the budget. But
Really?
Wade prepared.
I mean, there's like a zillion numbers in there. I don't think it's quite fair that and I don't want to use this word in the wrong way because there's a lot of stuff in the budget, right? And we're going to approve the budget, right? And then all of a sudden it becomes Bible. But when the rate goes up of some kind, I think we should discuss that outside of the context of the budget, right? And then we say, okay, well, eventually we agree to it or we don't agree to it, and then the budget gets changed, not the other way around.
Yeah, and I think it's the system set up for that right now the budget's been prepared with the budgetary money set aside for the 2% rate increase. And so after you have the public hearing, and of course you could take it out right now if you wanted to, say don't even include that in, but it's not finalized until you vote. And when you vote, you'll take 3 votes. You'll vote on the tax rate, you vote on the water and sewer rate, and you'll vote on the budget. So you have
So
an
we have another opportunity to go into that a little deeper, or is it just going to say all in favor of aye?
You will if you decide to do that. And that would be after the public hearing at some point. And what would happen would be if you decide to take a piece of the revenue piece out, like say you said, I don't want a 2% increase, then you'd have to already have figured out, let's just use 15,000 that Wade said. Where's that 15,000 going to be withdrawn? Because the budget has to be balanced.
Okay.
So you have that opportunity to make that pitch.
And how come the public doesn't get an opportunity to talk about that?
They do at the public hearing, which is why it was good practice to include the potential for the rate increase now so that the public knows that's what's being discussed so they can come to the public hearing and comment on it.
Okay, because I thought you just said, and I don't want to belabor this endlessly, but I thought you just said we're going to talk about the 2% rate increase after the public hearing.
We wait to hear what the public has to say about it, Jeff.
Yeah.
And then if there are debatable items that have been brought up by the public or the commissioners have more conversation to be had about it, there's a time and a place for it. So it's you. If I were you, I would get more information from Wade and Jay, if need be, Bobby, to get a little more clarity on the reasoning behind the 2% increase.
Yeah.
So that you're armed when the residents speak up, if they speak up at the public hearing, and then you can both answer and talk about it afterwards, or if you, again, as Jay said, if you need to propose something to make up that difference, that's something that, that we would all have to talk about. And remember and just one more thing, and the 2% is limited, those are our rules, guys. That was our self-imposed rule.
It's in the budget. It's in the charter saying we can raise it 2%.
Yeah, it's in the code.
So, yeah. And so it's by our code, Jeff, that we've raised it higher than 2% in the past, but we put our own limit on it to make sure that it's like a stopgap to make sure that that's an amount that we can go to without having to go to a public hearing. Still, it's a very low amount and it's a reasonable amount.
Okay.
Maybe to help, I can tell you like when would be the time to talk about things. That might be
There you
good.
go.
Yes,
So,
please.
we're going to have the hearing. So tonight, the budget's considered introduced. And so the public can now get copies of it. They can look through it. And the hearing on the 3rd that you set would be on this proposed budget. So they can say, I like it, I don't like it, is this in there? Whatever details. You're really going to hear from them on the 3rd. You can engage in some sort of discussion, but it's really not a discussion among yourselves about what's good or bad. And then on the 17th is when you guys no longer have public comment on it. It's when you all have the discussion among yourselves. And because we have to adopt it that night, you have to be prepared that night for the additions and the subtractions to happen. And so a lot of times between the 3rd and the 17th, the handwriting's on the wall and Wade and staff can kind of figure out some proposals for you. So you wouldn't have to sharpen your pencil and do it. But that's how you eventually do it. And on the 17th, the goal would be that you adopt a budget that's balanced, adopt a tax rate, and adopt a water and sewer rate. That's of some sort.
Okay. And just when Wade was talking, the tax rate remains constant. Right, Wade? Yeah. And the water rate is changing.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Jay and Wade.
All right. Anything else for this evening?
Nope.
If not, anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.